welcome back to this channel MizReactions, where I'll bring you the best reactions from YouTube. For those new here, I'm Robert from the channel Mislead Loyalty, and I love sharing my honest opinions on the most viral and trending videos of the moment. You know how it is. I sit here, we watch the content together, and I give you my most authentic, unfiltered reaction. What you see is what you get, pure sincerity and good vibes. Today we have a video that is breaking the internet, and I couldn't help but share my reaction. But before we start, if you like the content, support it by liking, subscribing, and activating the bell so you don't miss any reactions. And if you'd like to see more content like this or have suggestions for reaction videos, leave them in the comments. Let's get started with today's video. Thanks for being here. See you in the next video.
Now do allow me to start off by thanking everybody for you guys' wishes, prayers, and for you guys' support to get my story or my message out there. Just to see if maybe it could be a glimpse of looking inside to how things already are for those that are barely starting and be like, I'm gonna be smarter than this cat. That at the end of the day, I admit it, I was, or maybe still am, a straight pendejo, but God's given me the opportunity to at least, if it's time, you know, I'm okay with it, but at least to not go hurting someone, most importantly our loved ones, for something that just ain't there. Now, this is a little bit an older story I made for you guys right before December. For some reason, the person that was supposed to put out there decided not to, so, but I can't say nothing in regards to that, and I wanted to share it with you guys. Again, I'm going to start touching on my story to make sense now that I'm doing this here, but I just thought I'd share this with you. I just got back from the hospital from emergency, and again, I'm going to touch on my current health and most importantly, show you guys. With this said, feliz domingo y muchas gracias, mi gente. Okay, for this story, I'm just gonna go back a little bit, and I was gonna tell this story. We had something in the works with a camarada, that he wanted to come on here and speak about his personal experience with this individual. So I held back, and didn't talk about it in the hopes that he would come out here and extend his knowledge, his personal walk with this Billy, and but don't know what happened. It just never happened. So I'm gonna go ahead and touch on this a little bit, in hopes I can make sense for you guys, cause I'm still a little bit tonto de toda la medicina. But anyways, this story is gonna circle around Mando from Ontario and Jr. Junior from Ontario. It was just something that, well, to me it's always been a trip. To be sincere, how you can go from being close, close camaradas, grow up in the same area, same barrio, and it's a perfect example how power could corrupt anybody, It's like they say, you really want to know how a person is, give them a little bit of power and you see how they truly are. But anyways, for this, I was into HBSU. At this time, Junior had just recently been made. He was in the 180 B yard, and he was doing his thing. He was staying in the shadows. He was walking the main line, and he had soldados out there. To my understanding, he had a lot more soldados up in like Riverside, Redlands, places around, like Fontana. But at this moment, from my point of view, Mando was starting to do his little shady stuff, just he was doing the wrong thing, basically trying to push his weight and try to do his politicking, but he was doing it to those that couldn't really politic back. What I mean by this is, the camaradas, the sureños, as you guys know, all you could do is present your report to a pili, and in the hopes that he would take the proper steps and investigate it, which that don't really happen. Basically, is they're looked at as carnales, or the first person they usually get at is the one you're trying to lift a complaint on. Give them the heads up, and most of the time it just goes bad. For you lifting polvo towards that individual, it backfires. It gives him the room to basically wash up a camarada, and but in this time it's just a little power struggle they were having, and basically Mondo was just one of those greedy ones that they were from the same neighborhood, but he was trying to step on everybody's toes. Which in this time it was the Viejano D and Junior. Um, I believe Spike was already out there. I don't think Mono had been made yet, but yeah, he was basically trying to push his power around. He was doing a lot of dirty calls. For example, I remember at this moment, instead of asking camaradas out there to give him, just to show his respects here and there to them, or to the mesa, or to the clica, you could say, them. He was actually trying to clip him for, I believe it was 10% of everything he was making. And then it went from there to what we see now. A lot of people, they talk negative about this individual because he was one of the first ones trying to do this, which was, whatever you got to present it, and then from there, we got to see what we get. It's not no more what you're going to kick back to us, it's what we're going to kick back to you. Even though you're doing all the dirty work, you're doing the plugs, and a lot of people fell victim to this. A perfect example was a camarada they called Crow Cuervo. He just he was kicking back what he thought was right. I understand that well, they gotta fix things to their advantage. For example, they were pushing their weight on the homies from Ontario. Basically using and abusing them, and when it came back to kickback, it was like you gotta give the Pili some. You gotta break me off because I'm the Pili from the neighborhood. Then the neighborhood becomes a factor. And it's just one of the many ways they show their greed. Their tecato ways. I want to make sure I say this when I say tecatos, then they don't necessarily have to be the ones that you know put something up their veins. And overall, I'm talking about their ways. They have some funny styles to them that you can only call a tecato that would go to those lengths to either do their loved ones bad, or those that they consider friends. They care what's coming to them, not what they're supposed to do to receive it. But yeah, just a war started breaking out between Junior and him, for the fact that at this moment, you know Junior wasn't he was trying to keep camaradas in good because he wanted to pick up territory. So he was trying to be as much respectful as he could, and at the same time he was trying to maintain on the main line. So but it just happened to be a camarada. I forgot if he was already Black Angels or Angelito Negro or OBS. I forgot. He was from the city though, And what happened? They had hit a good amount, of jale. I couldn't really tell you how much, but it was something good, And again, Mondo wanted Homeboy on the streets to take the whole jale to where he said so, and wait to see how much he was gonna get back from it. Which the camarada on the streets, he wasn't having it, so he basically lifted up the report to Junior, and Junior started going back and forth to where this escalated, not only on the streets, but you were seeing camaradas inside from one side or the other trying to remove each other, and that this is what's shameful, that camaradas are so loyal to these individuals that they're willing to hurt each other, which is understandable. I understand that on the streets it's game banging and it's my neighborhood against everybody, but inside it just don't work like that, and camaradas just turn learn, because there was a couple 187s, on the outs, and a couple stabbings. I remember in Tehachapi, and another one in Corcoran. If I remember right, I believe it was in one left where they stabbed the homie from Black Angels, and that basically got a lot of other pilis involved in their stuff, and basically is what one out of many things why Mondo he eventually got his wings clipped, that, and I believe that old man was still with Junior, and they pushed him on him. But see, that's what I want those young camaradas on the streets thinking that I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna stay strong. Yeah, that's my big homie from my neighborhood. There's no such thing, man. You could have an older homie from your neighborhood, but once they get jumped into this organization, it's a wrap, They're not your homies no more. They're gonna come before anything and everybody. Period. Because I remember when they decided to go ahead and clip Mondo's wings, this fool's crew started all getting removed. And for what? For being loyal to somebody that at the end of the day didn't have the power he thought he did, and could not stick up for them. It was just, you're done. You're done, you're done, you're done. Now, these individuals, they're such characters, that when they do decide to check in or they get that, they won't be even be man enough to go ahead and come out and face those camaradas he took with them, He he'll do that lobo lockup, and this is what happens in this case, and the funny part is that all his crew went with him, and later on, once Junior got validated, he went from being a firmes camarada till there was wiggle room there to where he could, have a little bit more power and stuff, and he started sending camaradas on bogus missions, trying to step on Billy's toes, and when it ricocheted, it just, I don't know why they're doing it, playing that dummy part. And to be sincere, last time I heard, he was still good, he managed to bounce back, but why I'm even talking about this, because I want to touch up on a little something that Mando ended up doing before checking in, And I just wanted to paint a picture to those young homies thinking again that there's an end goal to doing that, or there's a badge of honor in that. It's exactly how it happens. You go in prison and you want to be the most. Next thing you know, you have a greedy individual that takes you with them, which was the case with Mondo, And a lot of the crews of Junior got removed before he was able to clear his stuff. just be wise. Make sure you treasure those that are actually gonna be there for you. Again, I'm against all that working with law or anything like that. Just I come on here and tell these videos because I want everybody to smart up. Mando was just one of those individuals. The camarada that was gonna come up here had a really great story. Some personal stuff that he decided not to come on here, so I'm gonna respect his wishes and not even talk about it. But Mando was just one of those individuals, where you owed him $10, and that's how much your life was. Where it don't matter if you were a sureño, campolero, if you've been busted, done things. With him, money talks. Ain't nobody that worth that much to him, and that's what eventually became his downfall. But there was wars between this, and again, my message is, wise up, man. Love your loved ones. There's gonna come a time where you're gonna reflect. Believe me, I think for some it comes earlier than the others, and I come on here just basically so you guys see a straight pendejo and an inner look of what he had to endure. And when I had the time to reflect, it's like, my higher power is saying, do it, but you know, I did it too late. I'll just leave it at that. And I'm here, I'm positive, and I keep pushing forward, and I ain't never gonna stop. But for those young ones, you don't have to go through the pain and the suffering and being locked up like a dog to prove yourself or your loved ones anything. Just look at what's out there. There ain't nothing but greed and power and stepping on the next man over dope, over money. But again, gente, muchísimas gracias por todo. I wish this coming year brings blessings after blessings to you and family. Thank you again. Allow me to apologize if I don't sound myself today again. Right now it's 6 o'clock, and I think I went to emergency around 10, so it was, back to back medicine until I was stable enough to come back. So I'm a little bit off, but I just want to come on here and tell this little story, and hopefully I can open that little glimpse a little bit more each story. And I will come back and continue my story. I just want to stop in and extend my best wishes to everyone, extend my love, and again, stay true to yourself and loyal to your loved ones. Muchas gracias y que todos estén bien.
See you in the next video. Thank you for your time and for being part of this wonderful YouTube family. See you next time.